Well, I think we should continue to get on with the neck now. The body, I'm leaving the, the, the sides set, and probably the next issue, in the next episode, I'll reveal how the body gluing went. I won't say anything about it now. So onto the neck. We got about this far with it before. I think I'd glued the filler strips in, done the truss rod and all that business, glued the side wings on. So I've roughly come to this sort of, this sort of profile, a blank. The other one, the other Lyre Mandolin that surfaced was this one, which has got a different shape, slightly different shape headstock. Although it's a bit difficult to see, but I think it is. I mean, this one definitely looks wider, and I actually prefer this one. So this is the one I'm kind of copying. I like the colour of it. I don't. That's a bit dark. Plus the fact with this one as well, I don't know if you can see, but I've got details of it. I think I've got a back photo of it somewhere. I'll have a look in a minute. But there's this support on the neck that runs between the lyre arms, and to be honest, you can kind of see it on there as well. I just don't like it. I just think it looks ugly. If I look at those two, in my eyes, I prefer the one on the, the lighter coloured one. I just think it looks more elegant. So that's the one I'm copying. Now, my slight dilemma is, I'm sure you've got a hint that I'm, a bit of a skinflint when it comes to wood and stuff. I mean, it's so expensive nowadays. It's quite ridiculous. But, and when I look at this fretboard on here, I've got a bigger picture as well. It's very light coloured, and I'm kind of doubting whether it's rosewood at all. It almost looks sort of mahogany-ish, and obviously over the years it's got a lot of patina to it. But so we've got the neck here. I've got this piece of rosewood that is kind of guitar sized. I mean, it's fractionally smaller than a Les Paul fretboard, but I'd gladly use it so for a guitar. But if I cut it up for this neck, it's a whole. I'm sure this is like that, like it's not Indian rosewood. I don't think. I think it's that Madagascan stuff. So I'm not sure what to use. If I cut this down, I'd kind of feel, yeah, I'm using the right stuff, but I'm wasting a lot of it, and it's a bit, yeah. I mean, I've even got just this junk mahogany I could use, although that's very soft. Probably not ideal for a fretboard. And I've got offcuts of really nice American walnut, which would be really good. I mean, I think colour of that with stain on it. My problem is that you stain a fretboard and you start using it, and the stain wears off. I also picked up this for a couple of quid. It's a book matched bit of I'm sure that's walnut, actually a burr walnut or something, which is really pretty, but I've not used it on anything. But basically, let's just slice it and have a look at it. there you go. You know, it's a really pretty light piece, and I've never used it on the guitar, but I think it would be, you know, it would be quite nice on there. You know, I think we'd get a lot of it. Maybe I don't know, overlap it a bit or whatever, but I think that would actually look quite nice on there because it's a nice big headstock, and this has got quite a fancy grain on it as well, so we could go with that. But I suppose I've got to make a decision on what to use for the fretboard. I mean, this is the right stuff, right colour. Well, it's not the right colour, but you know, it's rosewood. It's not Brazilian rosewood, that's for certain. It could be that Madagascan stuff, but I think I'm going to go with this basically because it's the right wood to use, and I'll just have to, like, you know, swallow the wastage sort of thing. I mean, I may be able to use it elsewhere, which will be nice, but yeah, okay, well, let's use this. It's the correct stuff, and I'll get back to you when I've marked it out. Well, I've done it, so committed to the rosewood fretboard, so I've got it roughly cut to size. It's obviously a bit generous all round, so here we go. It's looking quite good. There's a lot of you know, people who really like you know, guitars seem to have quite thick fretboards. I just don't like it. I like a nice thin board, down to about 4mm, I think, and then that'll look nice. So rightio, onto the planer. Noisy beast, but does the job. So we're down to what I would consider, you know, an elegant looking thickness on the fretboard. Yeah, that gives me a good starting point. Now what I actually like to do is cut the fret slots. While it's a square piece, everything's square on it, perfectly parallel faces, I'm not going to cut the frets at any like weird angle sort of thing. So I scribe a line just near the end where I can start measuring. Basically would be the 0 fret where the top nut goes, and then we can start laying out the frets. I've got the fret measurements from that plan, so yeah, we'll go from there. Quite simply, I use a scalpel to actually mark the fret positions. So we'll put a line in for the top nut now. Okay, so we've got our starting point now, and we can lay them out. When it comes to fret positions, you know, you can go on the internet and type in fret calculator. I'm pretty sure Stuart McDonald has got one on there, and you can just put in the scale length, what instruments it is. I don't see that the way that should matter, and I think the basic formula is, you know, you've got the string length from the top nut to the bridge, and you divide that by, it's 17.25, 17 point something, and that gives you the position of the first fret. You then take that distance off, and then you divide it by, so take the distance from the nut to the first fret off the scale length, and then you divide it again by 17.25, and down it comes. The interesting thing is, over the years, there have been different rules of thumb, and the guitar can never be a perfectly in tune instrument, so it does. There have been different formulas over the year. There's something called the rule of 12 and stuff like that. But just to show you, here's two spare fretboards I've got that are both from Les Pauls. One is a vintage fretboard, and one is a modern fretboard. Now, they're both the same scale length, so the string length is both the same. But if you put them next to one another, you can see that, right, fret 1, 2, perfectly lined up, starts the one on the right, the darker fretboard. It's on the left as the video shows it. You know, on the 3rd fret starts getting a bit closer to the top nut, and by the time you go up the fretboard, you can see that the frets, especially when it gets up to the 9th fret here, you know, there's quite a difference between the frets. And then when you get up to the end, you can see the difference there. The weird thing is that if you slide the fretboards a little bit, right, all the top frets are perfectly equally spaced, but then, you know, when you get back to number 1, they're out by a fret width. Now, you know, both fretboards play as in tune as my ears could say, but it's just a different rule, and I think it's something to do with you know, whether you tune 5ths and 3rds and whatnot. And I found out with the hurdy-gurdy, you don't fret the strings, or effectively stop the strings at what they call equal temperament positions, which is the calculated fret position. You actually do it by ear, and I'm sure this is just a result of back in 1959 or whenever they were building, you know, their Les Pauls in the 50s, they used some other measurement of being in tune rather than the modern one, which is that. But it's interesting stuff, worth looking out for. So I'm going to use the fret measurements off the F5 mandolin plan, which was from a 1930s instrument. So we'll use that, and then I'll check them with the old modern temperament rule. So we'll get marking out. Just a quickie on how I mark my frets out. Don't measure between the frets and mark, say, from, you know, mark your 1st fret from the 0 fret, the top nut, to the 1st fret, and then measure your next fret from the 1st fret to the 2nd fret, because if you get any error, you know, you're compounding it. So if you've got the 1st fret fractionally in the wrong place, then you're going to get all the frets are going to start off further up fractionally in the wrong place, so you compound an error. So basically I'm doing the 3rd fret now. It's 55.57 millimeters on the thing, so on the plan. So I just mark it, put it down here, like just the width, and that's perfect. And then scribe. So that's got me 3rd fret there. I'll get on and do the rest now. Back again. Right, we've got the fretboard scored with the fret positions. Hi there. Just going back to the fret measurements. I quickly had a look online, and Stuart McDonald has got like a fret calculator, and like I said, you just stick in the scale length, stick in what musical instrument it is, the units, you want it in inches or millimeters, press it and it comes out, and there it is there, for the mandolin. And I'm just going to I'll have a quick check on the drawing that they're correct sort of thing, but it looks good to me. So here's the scored fretboard ready to be cut. Now, fret wire for a mandolin is incredibly thin. You can see this is a typical guitar width, and this is mandolin width. Now, when you get fret wire, it's basically T. Oh, you can't really see, but I mean it's basically T sectioned, and the leg of the T is you hammer into the fretboard, but on the leg of the T it has little barbs. So what you've got to do basically is cut a slot to the right depth, the bit you know, sort of length of the T leg, a bit wider than the leg of the T, but not as wide as the barbs. So you basically hammer the frets in or press them in, and the barbs hold them in. Now, I've got a bundle of different fret saws. I've never found one that you know I'm absolutely happy with. I'm always changing around between them. This is a fairly good one I bought from an English company. I can't remember who they are now, but they do, you know, the matching toast rack, if you like, and you basically put the saw in, do the fret slot. Now, these are unique, obviously the spacing of these are unique for a particular scale length of instrument. This is for a Gibson modern one. I mean, you'll see here. Basically, how can I show that? You know, the frets line up perfectly on there. It's, you know, fairly obviously what happens, but I haven't got one of these for a mandolin, and I don't intend buying one. So what I'm just going to have to basically do is clamp this fretboard in and just use one slot, but move the fretboard underneath it. And then get cutting. But before we do that, what I want to do is just do a practice cut to make sure that you know, this is not going to cut too wide or too narrow a slot. So I'll get a scrap bit, just use the bit that I cut out, and we'll just do a quick slot. So there's our little practice slot, and we can see how the fret wire is going to go in. We'll just have a little practice bash on it and make sure it goes in okay. So I think we're all right with that saw. You know, it goes in okay, so I'm reasonably happy to continue on that. If anything, I think it's a little bit tight, but we'll go. Now, fret slotting, obviously it's the you know, the heart of the instrument, so you can't really accept any like you know, bodgy fret cutting. You want to get it nice and accurate, clamp everything down. I mean, don't do it like I did that practice one then where you're just hacking away, but get everything clamped up, which I'll do now, and I'll get back to you. So here we are. I've got everything firmly clamped. I've got the fret cutting jig in the vise. I've got a scrap bit of wood clamping the fretboard down. Like I say, you could do this in a Les Paul fretboard, just clamp it in once, Bob's your uncle, do your 22 frets or whatever. On this I'm going to have to move the fretboard each time, but yeah, so you'll notice with this saw it's actually got like the blade is held in this backing band, and then you've got only so much of the saw showing, so I'm going to be sawing each slot down to this shoulder, and they'll all be the same depth and ready to go. But it's a pain in the arse, it really is, you know, but you've just got to do it. But at least with it clamped up, you're guaranteed you're not going to have any wobbly fret slots or anything running off. So, but you know, one of the worst bits about it is the rosewood is really hard, and you know, you want to do a nice accurate job, and you're doing it on quite you know, quite a difficult wood to cut anyway. So number 1 done, 29 to go, 28 to go. What I tend to do is just start off on the very corner of the fretboard with the saw canted up, just with it in 2 slots, and just check that it's cutting in the correct place. I mean, if it's not, you can jiggle it about a bit, but that's going to be a slightly waste bit of fretboard anyway, so you won't see any test marks, if you like. I find with this rosewood is it jams the saw so easily. Seven to go. Well, I'm not going to keep you here all the time for this. That's going to be like half an hour of boredom, I guess, so I'll just switch you off and show you the finished result. Well, that task's been done. Like I say, I don't like cutting fret slots very much because I've never seemed to have found a saw that makes an easy job of it. But there we go, so you can see all very neat, and I would almost categorically say that, you know, if you're going to cut fret slots with just a mitre block instead of one of those toast rack style things like I've had to do with this, keep the fretboard square, don't be tempted to shape it or anything first, and get everything clamped up really tight, so the saw isn't got no intention of like wobbling or anything like that, because if you end up with these fret slots and you try and cut them freehand or something, you know, the saw will, you know, tend to wobble, and at the edges you'll get like a wider slot, and when you try and press the frets in, they end up not sticking in very well when you have to press them in, glue them, and goodness knows what. So clamp it up nice and tight, and you'll get a good clean slots like that. You can't go wrong. So I think the next job, I'm a bit betwixt and between really. You know, I need to sort out the neck heel, where it's joining to the body and all that kind of thing, and you know, I can't go gluing the fretboard on yet, because like I was saying, my intention isn't to copy this instrument verbatim kind of thing. I want to make a modern equivalent of it, and some of the things I identified at the beginning was getting a steeper break angle for the strings over the bridge, so there's more downforce on that, on the top of the instrument to get a louder sound. And as a result, I don't want this fretboard lying on the top of the body. I want it tipped up in more of an archtop, modern archtop guitar fashion, so there'll be a neck extension of some kind going under here, so the fretboard will be off the body at more of an angle, so the strings sort of go back and then more steeply over the bridge for more downforce. So I really need to get the body up to speed, start getting an idea on fitting the neck, and then we can work on other stuff. So it's kind of typical of me. I'll get like, you know, I do the guitar in like a kit form, and you know, I've got the neck going on, I've got the fretboard going on, I've got the body going on, and sometimes you have to make this decision to get them together in order to carry on. And the trouble, like I say, I can draw as much as I want on the plan and stuff like that, but when you actually come to do it, things can change. So I don't want to cut the neck according to the plan I've done. I want to actually prototype it, and what I mean by prototype it, get the basics together and have a look and see how it goes. So I think we'll stop there today. We've done a fair amount, and thank you very much again for listening.